The NFL Combine is done, which means more mock drafts for all of us. My name is Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we will be doing a live Carolina Panthers 7 round mock draft. What do we mean by live? Is we will be the front office for Carolina during the entire simulation. So while this is going on, be sure to leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts on these selections and what you would like to see the teams do at each pick. And while you're at it, subscribe to the Tracy Take and also tackle that bell to get notified when new videos come out. So Panthers are picking here at number 8, and so far Abdul Carter, Cam Ward are the first 2 picks. Travis Hunter to the Giants, Ted McMillan to the Patriots, Mason Graham to the Jags, Shedeur Sanders falls all the way down to the Raiders, and then Will Campbell, last pick off the board. Carolina Panthers, and then to me, when I think of Carolina, I think of defensive line, and then defensive line. And so coming some of these guys have actually even fallen a little bit down some of the rankings, such as James Pierce Jr., or you go and look for Mike Green. Well, Mike Green has risen, but Kenneth Grant also
Yeah.
too is kind of in that same spot. So really, actually, James Pierce Jr. has been the guy that has kind of fallen a lot, fallen several spots. Nick Scorton has fallen a lot as well. So Ryan, I want to throw it over to you here. DB is also a sneaky option as well, just with
Yeah.
how good this defensive line class is. The Panthers are going to be able to pick up a bunch of talent in the second and third round. However, I
Mhm.
say all that, their next pick is not until 57, the Los Angeles Rams pick. So do you think they go defensive line here, go and try and get some of the top talent, or do you think they maybe go and try and get one of the top corners?
I think that's an interesting debacle that they're in because they're kind of in between where I feel like I'm getting good value at either spot. Where like I think Will Johnson would be worth the pick. Kenneth Grant, I don't know if he would be. I'm not as big on James Pierce Jr. as I was a month or two ago. But Mike Green I like a lot. So there are some guys here. They're just in an odd spot because um I just don't know if they're gonna feel like they're getting great value for this eighth overall pick because I feel like they're gonna feel like they're reaching because they don't need a running back. Luther Burden and Xavier Leggett, while different sizes, kind of play a similar role. Jade Barron, I don't like as much. He's a versatile guy. And well, I like him. I just don't like him in the top 10. Not as much as Will Johnson. So I don't know. I don't really know where I would go right now with this pick.
So there, to me, how I'm looking at it, there's a couple different routes they could go here. So you guys, you have like LeBron Ray, and then also too potentially guys like Sean Robinson or Shai Tuttle, like maybe could be on the chopping block as well.
Yeah.
So maybe you could go Kenneth Grant there and really retool that defensive interior. But you can go do that later on, or you could go James Pierce Jr. or Mike Green. They run the 3-4 as right now, and so you go put maybe Mike Green across from Jadeveon Clowney. I think that would be really interesting and definitely have that more pure outside linebacker role. I'm trying to think. Let's think outside the box. Is there anybody else here, like any other potential positions you think that they could end up going? To me, no. Like to me, I'm just trying to think.
No, I mean, I could see guys like Michael Williams maybe making a rise up, Derek Harmon, Walter Nolan. I just feel like this defensive line class is so deep you can get that later. Let's do. I think Mike Green would be interesting. The other name would be Malachi Starks. Get somebody on the back end of that defense. They have J.C. Horn, although I've heard rumors that there are trade requests out for him. Um, so I don't know. I think like Malachi Starks is the outside the box pick. I think from normal.
I I think this defensive line just needs as much talent as
Yeah.
possible. So let's go with the best edge rusher. If we think it's Mike Green, let's go Mike Green.
Okay. I think Mike
And
Green
keep
is a
that
little bit
stacked.
better than James Pierce.
Perfect.
So
All right, let's do that there. So next pick's not until 57. Do you want to recap the selections that we've done so far for the Panthers?
yeah, Mike Green, the edge rusher from Marshall. Yeah. It was about 6'4", 250. Uh
250.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Put Josh Connerly on his ass at the Senior Bowl. Everybody's seen that clip. Like,
absolutely. Yeah. So I do think offensive line is a potential option here. Or sorry, a potential need for them in this draft. But
mhm.
it's just when is going to be the big case as well. But I really like the receiving room that they have so far with Xavier Legette. I think he's going to keep on improving. Jalen Coker had a great year last year. Still have Adam Thielen, but I bring this up specifically though, is Thielen's only going to be there for so much longer. And so
Yeah.
kind of them being that veteran slot guy is, I do think it'd be extremely interesting. This would be, you go look at what Xavier Restrepo does, and then you go put him in that Dave Canales offense. I think that would be extremely interesting. What are your thoughts on if they end up going receiver here, or do they potentially double dip at defensive line again?
I think they could go receiver here. I do like Jalen Royals, Xavier Restrepo, Jalen Noel as well. I think would be an interesting one. I do think they could go like Kyle Williams a little bit later in the draft. You have Shamari DK, I believe is how you say that.
It's gonna be,
Uh,
yeah.
and then like there are some other guys I think that you can get good value for later. Xavier Restrepo is a really solid receiver. I think not that this is like my player comp for him, but I do think there is like some Chris Godwin in his game. At this point, I don't. Let's look at some of the interior offensive linemen and then also some of the interior defensive linemen. So Joshua Farmer, Jordan Phillips, Jared Wilson, Tate Ratledge could be interesting. Maybe we'll look at him at 74 and address that interior. Um, I don't know if I love double dipping at the defensive line at this point. I think Xavier Restrepo is a good pick.
Okay, let's end up
Let's
going that route.
okay.
Yeah,
Sorry, that was the long ways to grandma's house,
that's
uh
okay.
but yeah, no, I do like that pick. You get a good like slot receiver. Xavier Legette can be a like a gadget piece and move around the offense a little bit more, just with his size. And then you also still address that edge rusher position. Here, I do think this would be a decent Tate Ratledge spot. You could go maybe a linebacker to address the second level of that defense. I feel like there's been a hole missing there, kind of since Luke Kuechly left. They also have the linebacker that's been there for a while. Um,
Jack Thompson.
yeah, Shaq Thompson, who's
But
getting older, so that could be a potential
well,
spot there.
he's also they're probably going to let him go in free
Yeah.
agency as well. So I actually like that spot as well. Focusing on that front seven.
Okay. Yeah, let's snag Chris Paul here. And then maybe at our next pick, if Tate Ratledge isn't there, we can look at other interior offensive and defensive linemen.
Well, I think just overall, just good offensive line depth. Because if I look at it, though, I
Yeah.
mean, they got Akeem Aquanu, then they got Damian Lewis as well. Center might be a spot. Like they do have Austin Corbett there, who only played in 5 games last year. And is he actually going to be? That name sounds familiar on the free agency list. No, I'm not seeing anything on the free agency side immediately. Oh no, and so Austin Corbett, he is going to be a free agent as well. So is Jared Wilson still available?
No, he went at 100. Tate Ratledge went at 99.
Shucks.
So
So this,
there are a few other interior offensive linemen. Jamari Caldwell caught my attention. Just a bigger run stuffing defensive tackle. That's a pretty good athlete for that size. We could go Will Lampkin, Luke Kandra, Seth McLaughlin, maybe a little bit later, in some later picks. I think would be interesting there. Jake Majors, Miles Frazier. Not a lot of value here. I think maybe I'm leaning more towards defensive interior at this point. And then maybe in the next couple picks, we can start addressing guys on the offensive interior.
I also think too, because particularly center is a spot that I really think like if there's a need now, it would be that because Taylor Moton, I mean, he's one of the top tackles in the league. He's a right tackle. Akeem Aquanu, he was their first round pick from 2022. Damian Lewis and then also Robert Hunt, both from 2020 as well, and our solid guards. And so I think that would be the spot. Like if there's a Seth McLaughlin or who was there's another center that's coming up here that's normally in like the fifth, sixth round guys.
Uh,
Um,
Jake Majors is the other one. Jonah
Jonah
Monheim.
Monahan. That's it. Yeah. So maybe one of those guys later.
Yeah.
And so to your point though, because they still have several picks up, and they're actually even picking again here in a second.
In 3 picks. I'm leaning Jamari Caldwell right
That's the
now.
bet.
Just get a more run stuffing defensive tackle with to put next to Derek Brown when he comes back from injury. I think is a good fit there. So
I like it.
I like that one. That solidifies that interior. Now, you've done edge, wide receiver, linebacker, defensive interior. I mean,
So
let's look
I
at
will say this. So in the secondary, and this is going to be depending on what they end up doing here, and it does look like the Panthers are going to have, as of right now, about 30 million in cap space, and they can clear up some space, yes. But Xavier Woods and Nick Scott, both strong safeties on the depth chart as of right now, are free agents. Jordan Fuller, backup free safeties, free agent, and also Caleb Farley as well, backup corner, right corner, technically according to our lads. And so to me, I'm looking, and we've said this name several times now in mock drafts, but Andrew Makuba still being there, I think would be a solid guy. I
yeah,
actually really like corner here, or secondary in general, just with the names that are sitting right here. This is about the good value, I think, kicking off
yeah,
day 4 or round 4.
yeah. I think this is yeah. We can do Andrew Makuba. I feel like that would be a good spot for him. This is kind of like that last run on corners. Like Quincy Riley's going to be more of a slot corner, I think, once
Yeah,
we get into like the 140s. But that being said, if they don't trade JC Horn, that might not be necessarily a bad thing. So honestly, yeah, let's do Andrew Makuba. I like
yeah.
that. I like that
Let's do
fit.
that.
He comes in. I think he gives them starter caliber reps right away, and helps the back end of this defense even more. So I think right now the big things that I'm looking for are interior offensive line depth, and then maybe get a corner like a Quincy Riley or something around this time.
Perfect. So this is where I think you're going to get that center, where it's going to be Jake
Yeah.
Major, it's going to be Jonah Monahan.
Let's do Jake Majors. We've done the other two a couple times, and
That
I feel
works.
like they're all in that same tier. But I
Yeah,
think he has some flexibility, some positional flexibility too, to potentially play either guard spot, just with his weight being a little bit higher than the others. So
yeah,
I
and
like that fit.
yeah, and for what it's worth, he's ranked higher according to PFF on centers last year, just comparative.
Okay. Ah,
Um,
Quincy Riley went off the board.
what do we do?
That's
We should we end the video?
Yeah, I know. Let's just end it
Let's
right
just
here.
start over.
So thank you guys. Like and subscribe. No, so uh I do think you probably still want to look at that corner class. Elijah Huzzy is another one. I believe he's probably in that slot corner size range as well. Could play outside, but at 5'10, usually the arm length isn't quite there. So that could be a potential option. Yeah, that's really like I think Denzel Burke is definitely
That's the
an
name I
outside
was just
corner.
look. That's the name that I was looking at.
He is more of an outside corner. He's a little bit tight in the hips. Like, see, you see the difference there between 5'10", 185 and 6'1", 193. Like,
Yeah,
just the outside corners are a little bit bigger. He got exposed a little bit in the first Oregon game, just not being able to keep like speed and agility in front of him, and not be able to flip his hips smoothly and kind of get out in transition there on routes. But I mean, that would be an interesting pick, I think, for sure, as like a developmental guy. I think he could really be.
yeah.
He is somebody that has like high end traits that you could get here in the fifth, sixth round.
Well, or the name I'm looking at too, and I think he's primarily played outside, but he's got the size of someone that could kick inside with. But Elijah Huzzy is still
Yeah,
available right there. He's 5'10", 190,
yeah,
195. So I think that could be a route
yeah,
that they could end up going. So
yeah. I
whichever one
think
that you want,
depending on whether or not they trade J.C. Horn, I think will influence
definitely
which
dictate.
one
Exactly.
we go with. So right now he's still on the roster, so let's do Elijah Huzzy
Perfect.
for them. So again, about another 10, 12 picks until we pick again. So
In all
Panthers.
seriousness, what have we done actually up to this
uh,
point here?
No,
So I
I was
remember.
just about to go through. So Mike Green, edge rusher, Xavier Restrepo, wide receiver, Chris Paul, linebacker, Jamari Caldwell, defensive interior, Andrew Mukuba, safety, Jake Majors, center, Elijah. We've already doubled. Did we double dip? No, we got safety in a corner. We got one offensive lineman, two defensive line edger. There, a linebacker. So 3 picks in the front 7, and then a wide receiver. So only 2 picks so far on the offense. Um, let's
So
look.
for what it's worth, once again looking at their roster, so I have to kind of see what they say. But Jatavian Sanders is the only tight end on the roster as of right now. Tommy Tremble
Okay.
and Ian Thomas are both going to be free agents. So Jake Barringstool, I think, would be interesting as well. Jalen Conyers also
There
too.
is some overlap there. Stool is more of like that motion tight end that I feel like
That
Sanders
receiver.
already is. The guy that I like would be Luke Lachey. He's that
Yeah.
Iowa tight end. He's played in line. He's blocked a lot in a lot of running schemes. And so that's the guy that I think would be the better fit here in terms of having different or like specific roles in an offense.
Okay. Yeah. I think that'd be good as well too, because Jatavius Sanders is going to be that more that more Kyle Pitts esque type of tight end. Well,
Yeah.
I think going to get that meaty guy that you can bring in on goal lines is going to be good as well.
Okay. Yeah, no, I like that pick there. Also, too, you can pass block as well. But I think him and Jatavian Sanders will complement them well. So now you have those two guys. You have Xavier Leggett. Adam Thielen is there still for this year. Maybe we look at getting a wide receiver or another wide receiver because we got Xavier Restrepo in the second round.
I like
So
that.
let's see. We're up now. Anybody? We could get Ty Robinson. That's a name we've said before, but uh, just a disruptive interior defensive lineman. Dylan Fairchild to add more interior offensive lineman depth. Let's see. We can look at wide receivers really quick. Yeah, not anybody that I love. Um,
Once again, I think I know you got Restrepo, but like not other speed guys. I think I mean like Aaron Smith is obviously one that's coming up, but like
yeah,
Corey Brooks. But he's 6'3" though. He's too big. I'm trying to think of like tinier guys. Joey Hobart, I think would
yeah,
be interesting as well out of Texas State. Pretty consistent
yeah. That
overall.
could be one. That's one we haven't done yet.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's end up
what's
doing that
his?
one.
Yeah, let's do that one. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know too much about him, but uh, they need to address that wide receiver spot, and so take a flyer here on day 3,
Yep.
and I'll go turbo through the last few. But no, that is this Panthers mock draft. Let's do a quick recap, and then we'll kind of go through just our overall thoughts. So Mike Green, the edge rusher from Marshall, Xavier Restrepo, the slot receiver from Miami, linebacker Chris Paul from Ole Miss, Jamari Caldwell, the defensive interior from in Oregon, Andrew Mukuba and Jake Majors, both from Texas, but on opposite sides of the ball. Get Elijah Huzzy to kind of be your next slot corner. Luke Lachey to be your true kind of Y inline tight end, and then Joey Hobart, the wide receiver from Texas State. So all in all, I mean, the Panthers, they really started to put things together at the end of last season. And so I think this is kind of the perfect draft for a team that is looking to just up the base level of their talent. Because if you look at the top, there's just not a lot of stars. You have Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, like, and maybe one or two other guys that you could consider like blue chippers. And then other than that, you just have a lot of, I think, good, talented players that are going to come in and do a lot of the dirty work in the trenches and maybe make some impact that way, and then allow the stars of your team to go out and make those plays. So Bryce Young can get a much better supporting cast here in Carolina, and I think that is just going to be good for this team as they continue to grow around him.
Yeah, it's just looking at that draft, it's just going to be interesting as there's a lot of just how do I say this? Because like each one there's a selection, but it is like coin flips, like Mike Green versus James Pierce Jr. or like Xavier Restrepo versus then some of the other receivers who could be similar in that spot
Yeah,
as well. You had Jamari Caldwell, or it's like CJ West, or like
yeah,
JJ Pegas. You know, so it's like that's what's going to be interesting about this draft. Because I like that draft, but at the same time, though, too, there's kind of that like, oh shoot, like what if we get this guy? You know,
yeah,
or it's like what happens if this guy goes off, or would it be better for our system? And that's where they will know the type of system that they have, and they can analyze these guys so well on their strengths and weaknesses based off the current setup that they have. So I think the Panthers are in a good spot here. This is the type of draft for them. It's like if you have a very weak defensive line and then you need to get just some more receivers as well, this is like the draft class for you. Just because how
Yeah.
deep the receiving room is, how deep the defensive line class is. Their offensive line is pretty solid overall. Their Bryce Young's getting more confidence under Dave Canales and that system as well. So I think it's just keep on just trying to find good guys that complement the system and build it from there.
Yeah. So with that being said, let's go ahead. Let's wrap up this video here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, leave a comment on what you thought of this live mock draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you have done differently? Other than that, we'll see you guys next time.